News from Pfizer, the company now saying its COVID-19 vaccine is safe and effective for kids aged 5 to 11. We're getting a first look into what the trials looked like and how soon they could seek emergency approval from the FDA. ABC's Eva Pilgrim has the latest.
This morning, Pfizer announcing that its vaccine is safe and effective for children ages 5 through 11, and they will be asking the FDA for authorization in the coming weeks. The announcement coming along with the first look at the company's trial data giving its vaccine to children. The company says the trial gave more than 2,200 children a dose 1/3 the amount given to adults and found that it produced minimal side effects similar to adults and older children. And Pfizer says the results, which haven't been peer-reviewed, show the antibody response.
These companies that you trust with your bodies, right? Check it out. For immediate release, SEC charges, and this is just one. There's more. There's many of these situations. Okay. SEC charges Pfizer with FCPA violations. The Securities and Exchange Commission today charged Pfizer Incorporated with violating the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FCPA, when its subsidiaries bribed doctors and other health care professionals employed by foreign governments in order to win business. August 7th, 2012. This is one of many situations like this, guys. You trust these individuals with your body, your future, your children's future. I want to think again, man. Might want to think again. We don't have to read through the whole thing. You could look this up. This is www.sec.gov, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. These people are criminal, man. Criminal. This entire thing is a eugenics movement, if you haven't figured that out. I've tried to provide a lot of evidence to prove this. These people want to not just change the technological landscape of our environment, but they want to change the biological framework of your body, guys. I'm talking about some real live genetic engineering. Weird. And through the children. And I only bring that up because here I'm showing you how they're really going hard for the kids. I mean, they're going hard for the kids, man. And this is about controlling the future, but what are they actually trying to control? It's my contention that they are really trying to re-engineer future populations of human beings in real time. And the reason inoculations are so important is because it gives them uniform access to your body, to the genetic, to the genome of the earth. Do you understand how serious that is? Uniform access at any moment, for any reason, at any time. All they have to do is create some kind of crisis or case outbreak. Imagine having access to the earth's biogenome. Imagine that. And then consider CRISPR, consider all of these new technologies that they're working on. Then we consider the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure that's coming. Then we consider coding, whether that be AI coding or DNA coding, kind of being interchangeable. We think of software, we think of hardware, we think of the people behind a lot of this being computer engineers. So we've already shown you that they're trying to get this approved for children, right? And then we see stuff like this. What are we to think when we see all of this conflict, all of this contradiction? Boys more at risk for Pfizer jab side effect than CV suggests study. Wow. U.S. researchers say teenagers are more likely to get the juice-related myocarditis than end up in the hospital with CV. Healthy boys may be more likely to be admitted to hospital with a rare side effect of the Pfizer-BioNTech CV juice that causes inflammation of the heart than with CV itself, U.S. researchers claim. So, I mean, you guys could look this study up for yourself, right? The point is this: we're being fed an endless, ceaseless stream of conflicting stories, contradiction, and to me, it's very traumatic, right? Especially for people with, say, teenage boys. And maybe the son wants to get the juice because he just wants to live his life. He wants to play baseball or something, right? And then he has to look at how Fauci or Slouchy is coming out saying, yeah, it's good. You're better off doing it. You know, it's better for the future or whatever. And then you got stuff like this with saying, well, yeah, you know, you're more likely to suffer some type of serious reaction to this and possibly expire. But, you know, it's up to you, kid. Imagine a 13-year-old taking on that type of responsibility, taking on that type of decision. Imagine. Pfizer CEO, data on children's CV19 juice may be ready by late October. The company is dedicating resources to provide robust clinical data of kids' inoculations. This is what they want, man. They want to get these kids. Why do they want the kids? It's my contention this has to do with a massive eugenics program that aims to reconfigure and reconstitute in the environment, but the human being as well. While at the same time, we understand that, man, people are really getting damaged by this and even expiring shortly after receiving their second dose. And now they're pushing the triple jab. And by the way, Pfizer just came out against boosters. I mean, the FDA just came out against boosters. You're getting two totally contradicting perspectives at once. This is essentially and precisely the perfect example of sustained trauma.
For high school students, it looks like they will be available to get vaccinated in the beginning of the fall.
Now, didn't we just say how teenage boys are more at risk for myocarditis? Right? Knowing that is the case, if it's true, right? With the, you know, there's a study that says it's true, right? It's I guess it's still considered science, right? So if we follow the science, then we must at least acknowledge this study and maybe be a little precautious moving forward. But that seems to not be on Slouchy's mind at the moment because he wants to pump this thing in all teenagers.
Very likely for the fall term. With regard to children, we're doing an age de-escalation study in elementary school children from 12 to 9, 9 to 6, 6 to 2, and 6 months to 2 years. We anticipate we'll have enough data to be able to vaccinate these younger children by the first quarter of 2022.
Can you believe this? What is the urgency? What is the rush with these guys? We showed the clip in the beginning of the show of Bill Gates saying, well, you know, if you want to know there's side effects within 2 years, that takes 2 years.
If you want to wait and see if a side effect shows up 2 years later, that takes 2 years. That takes 2 years.
Yeah. So you mean to tell me we're going to have to wait 2 years to see what all of these jabs do to all of these young people? Imagine if 2 years from now we get some type of reaction to this that is in the numbers of millions of young people. Imagine, guys, these are not far-fetched ideas. These are potential realities right around the corner. How are we allowing this? How there is no such thing as the science. Science is never settled, otherwise it wouldn't be science. And if one science says one thing and one science says another thing, which one is science? How can we trust the science when the science doesn't agree? There is not a scientific consensus on anything here. Breakthrough data outlines need for booster. Of course, who says it? The Pfizer CEO says it. This adds to the literature suggesting waning immunity among initial CV19 inoculations. Of course, who's behind it? Can anybody say conflict of interest? I mean, come on. FDA advisors vote against Pfizer BioNTech booster jabs. What? Are you kidding? Let's read a little bit of this. FDA committee votes against approving BioNTech and Pfizer's CV19 booster for 16 and older. A group of advisors to the Food and Drug Administration said Friday the regulator should not allow Americans who are 16 years and older to get a third dose of BioNTech SE Pfizer Incorporated CV19 inoculation. There it is, guys. Now, I don't even care what the science is. I don't even need to look at the studies. I see two conflicting positions, both being part of the science. All I have to do is see inconsistency, and I'm taking a step back, period. That's it. That's all it takes for me. And that should be the case for the general population. Is it? No. Not only are they trying to get in the children's bodies, that's obvious, right? Clear. Mind you, they aim to get in your children's bodies without enough evidence or studies to really justify the action. Okay, so that's alarming enough, period, right? But now we look at another angle here. Now I want to delve into the psychological component here. And so here we are, no sports, no clubs, no talking during lunch and other joys of CV schooling. All right. This is not just social engineering. This is trauma-based mind control, behavior modification. Okay. This is behavior modification. Very, very disturbing, but not just is it that social development is being distorted, but even intelligence. Pandemic effects may have lowered baby IQs, study says. The pandemic is leaving its imprint on all of us, but some experts suggest it may be most keenly affecting babies and toddlers. A new study by researchers at 5 universities found that babies born during the pandemic may have lower IQ scores than those born before it. Babies who came into the world before the CV had a cognitive score hovering around 100, according to this study. But the test scores of babies born during the pandemic fell sharply to around 78. That's 22 points lower than what's considered normal. It was shocking, said lead study author Sean Dione. When you think of breastfeeding, for example, we're usually talking about 5 points difference. We expect most children to be between 85 and 115, with only 16% being less than 85. Almost all of our kiddos born since the pandemic are now at that lower level. Right now, again, we always take these things with a grain of salt. But you know why I think there's some truth behind this is because I know absolutely that children's social development and their ability to socialize, their ability to have emotional understanding or emotional intelligence, their ability to understand social cues, and their ability to be successful verbally and socially are being deteriorated by way of this situation we've had over the 18 months. I know that for sure. By everything I've read over the years and just what I've seen, anecdotally and by way of data, I understand that these things are true. Now, I would also add to that, just like social development would take a fall, so would IQ level. The first 1,000 days of a child's life are often referred to as the brain's window of opportunity, experts say. Of course, they always have to put the experts, right? That's the only way they could get people to listen these days. They have to put experts in there. Otherwise, people just think it's misinformation. A time of great potential, but also great vulnerability, right? The first 1,000 days of a child's life. Potential, but also vulnerable. The most explosive growth comes first, with the brain doubling in the first year. Okay, so this is why it's so very important. The first 3 years of any being's life is extremely important developmentally. Researchers are concerned that less parental stimulation, of course, stimulation is so important the first 3 years. Actually, the first year stimulation is the most important thing. Winnicott would call it holding, proper holding. If you want to look up that term and learn a little bit about some of these things, it's really, really interesting stuff. Researchers are concerned that less parental stimulation coupled with a lack of engagement with other children may be partly to blame. So when you don't engage enough with young children, when children don't engage enough, whether that be just through the eye contact or physically or verbally, as well as not being stimulated by others, this lessens the degree to which their brain can develop. So they have less neural pathways develop at a lower rate. So children that grow up with little stimulation, not much experience, their brain develops neural pathways at a lesser rate, opposed to children who are thrown out into all types of things and are allowed to play and explore and engage and interact and are consistently and heavily stimulated, these children develop a lot of neural pathways by way of that experience. So what this does is it increases IQ, it increases verbal ability, increases sociality. It creates a very well-rounded, more higher developed human being. So what we're discussing here is the concept of this pandemic having a lot to do with the opposite of that, creating a type of developmental atrophy. So now we have the masking, right? We have the inoculation, right? We have the internal, we have the external. And now let's look at what we could call chemical pollution or highly toxic environments as another response to this situation. So it's just another layer. So this adds another layer to the abuse. This adds another layer to the pollution and the toxic environment that our children are now being introduced to, whether that be psychologically, spiritually, or biologically. So check this out, man. This is what they're doing. That's treatment for the schools, right? That's where they want our children, right, to be, to learn, right? So, I mean, let's look at it. What is this stuff, right? What is this stuff they're literally covering classrooms with? Virex, that's it, not Virilex, but Virex, right? So here's a document that tells you everything you need to know about this chemical. And this is what we are told they're using. We don't know exactly. There could be something else in that stuff, in that thing he's spraying. You know, we don't. It's hard to know for sure about anything at this point. I think we've figured that out. But interestingly enough, what do we see here? Keep out of reach of children. Danger. Yet we are covering children classrooms with this stuff. Now let's go all the way to the bottom. I found this interesting when we look at its application. What is it used for? How do you use it, should I say? Interesting. Check this out. So let me go back up here. Okay. So we have it for use as a one-step cleaner, disinfectant. Okay. For use as a cleaner, disinfectant in food processing plants. Okay, like factories. All right, that makes sense. I get it. I know they're a little more risky with adults opposed to children. For use to clean and disinfect barber and beauty manicure instruments and tools. All right, I can see that. That makes sense. For use as a non-acid bowl cleaner, disinfectant in toilet bowls from concentrate. Okay, so for cleaning nasty bathrooms. Okay, I could see that. Not to say all these applications are safe, but I can understand them, right? For use as a non-acid bowl cleaner, disinfectant in toilet bowls from use dilution and urinals. Okay, yeah, makes sense. For use to clean and disinfect shower rooms, locker rooms, and other large open areas. Oh, okay, interesting. Large open areas with floor drains. Okay, all right, makes sense. To kill mold and mildew, fine. To control mold and mildew, fine. To kill fungi, fine. Okay, for use for treatment of animal housing facilities. Okay, poor animals, but all right. Let's see. Wait a minute. Where's children classrooms? I can't seem to find children classrooms anywhere. Weird. Do you think it's safe to spray, literally soak children's classrooms with this chemical? I don't know. Doesn't seem to be part of its use according to its documentation now. Interesting. Do they really care about our children? Think about it. Literally poisoning children with these chemicals. While they're masked, maybe, I guess someone would say, well, maybe the mask will save them from these chemicals, right? It's just crazy. So masking them, spraying down their classrooms with poison, and attempting to jab them all with experimental stuff that has very little data backing it, no safety proof. Oof, this stuff is just like, wow, 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 wow. We have the FDA registered. Oh, that makes it trustworthy, huh? Is all my kid is using at school this year. So here we go, more propaganda. Get a peace of mind. Look at this. Get peace of mind and throw a few in your kid's backpack. Peace of mind. Wow. Oh, the propaganda, the level of deception. The level of deception. So here we go. You know, marketing new masks, you know, denser but breathable material. If I pulled out all the studies that I have and that already exist pertaining to the dangers and the detrimental effects of masking young children, you guys would, I mean, we could spend all day just going over them. There's plenty of evidence that proves these masking young children is actually very, very detrimental, not just for their health, but for their development. So, speaking of masks, let's go back to 2019, shall we? And let's look at what good old Gremlin, the illustrious gnome himself, Slouchy, has to say. 2019, let's remember this. Check this.
And the best way for me to prevent getting an infectious disease and having to have you as my doctor is what? Wearing a mask.
No.
I don't need to do that. Wearing a mask.
No.
I don't need to do that. If somebody's, I can see they're ready to sneeze or cough, walk away.
You avoid all the paranoid aspects and do something positive. You avoid all the paranoid aspects and do something positive. The paranoid aspect. A, good diet. B, you don't smoke, I know. I know you don't drink, at least not very much, so that's pretty good. Get some exercise. I know that you don't get as much exercise as you should.
That's correct.
Get good sleep. I think that the normal, low-tech, healthy things are the best thing that you can do, David, is stay healthy.
All right.
I haven't heard much of that over the past 18 months. Have any of you guys? We have nearly 3,000 people viewing right now. That's quite a bit. Have any of you guys heard this coming from the mainstream media? Did you see how he laughed? And he said, what do I do? Wear a mask? He laughed. Because it's a joke. Insanity is an understatement. And then we get something like this. New study finds mask mandate failed to reduce CV deaths, hospitalizations, or cases. A study published by Southern Medical Journal and reviewed by U.S. Army Institute of Surgical Research found mask mandates did not reduce CV transmission or severity in the fourth largest county in Texas. This is fee.org. If you guys are interested in this article, you might want to look into it. How can we trust the science if the science does not agree? How does any of this make any sense?
Put your mask on. No, you gotta wear it on, honey.
No, you gotta keep it on.
Put your mask on.
There you go. Keep it right there.
Yay, Mason! Yay!
Keep it on, Mason. Look, we're gonna keep it right here. Look. Oh,
Peekaboo, I see you. Keep your mask on. Put your mask back on.
what are you looking at? Come on, keep it on your face. You gotta keep it on your face. So we go outside. There you go. Mason. No, keep it on.
is this science. Can you believe that? That poor kid couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe. It's going to keep you safe, she said, as if he even understands what that means. Poor kid couldn't breathe. Did you see that type of mask? It was with thick fabric. She even snapped it on his face at one point. And you could see she's getting frustrated with the kid. She's being rough with him. That pissed me off, man. That pissed me right off. Let me give you a little image here. Let me show you the depth of some of this. So first, this is just one image that they're passing around to kids in school to indoctrinate children to be okay with this type of treatment. Look at this. It's just one image. I can stay apart from my friends. Look at the imagery, man. I mean, goodness, this is beyond 1984, man. This is something else. This is something we're not familiar with. This is unprecedented. This is space age sci-fi. Oh, I don't even know what to term it at this point. Imagine. Look at this. I can stay apart from my friends. Imagine growing up as a young child and looking at this type of imagery and letting this be that which shapes the way you perceive friends and others. And imagine what this does to a child's mind. You can't fix this, guys. See, you can't fix these things. Once this framework is solidified, once these developmental stages are incomplete, actually, but you can't go back and fix these things, man. This is what they're passing around children to teach parents. Teaching parents how to desensitize their children. Help your child mask up. This is behavior modification. Try each step for 2 days, 30 minutes each day. Start with the child putting the mask around their chin. Move to wearing the mask over the mouth. Now wear over the nose and mouth. Even if the child is wearing the mask incorrectly at first, this is still a win. They are on their way to mask wearing. Just keep encouraging. This is from Oregon Pediatric Society. Utterly disgusting. Now let me tell you something, guys. If this was a temporary situation, if this was, something we could get through after a couple weeks or a few months even, or maybe a year, we're going to get through this together, guys. We're going to end this pandemic, guys. If this was something that would be ended in a short time, how is it that we are putting kids through experiences that will rob them of the rest of their life? Once you do this to a child, it transforms them for the rest of their life. You mean to tell me, if this thing is going to be gone in 6 months, a year or so, it's okay for us to put our children through these types of experiences, right? And be okay with it because, this is all going to be over soon. No, you don't know what's going on here, do you? You can't take these things back. Try each step for 2 days, 30 minutes each day. Desensitize, guys. How much more evidence do we have to show you to prove they are systematically re-engineering the next generations live, externally and internally? All right. What else did I want to show you? Oh, let me show you this other clip here, or image. I have another image here just to kind of relate to the student thing and how they're going for the youth, since we're focusing on the youth right now. Look at this. Book your CV19 inoculation. All citizens age 16 years and above are now eligible for CV19 inoculation. Getting injected is the best way to help get our lives back to normal. For example, holidays, where countries are likely to ask if you have been injected. Return to sporting events and other restricted activities. attending large-scale events such as festivals, continue to enjoy recently restored freedoms, and avoid further lockdowns. Can you believe this language? Have we fallen away that much? Have we truly lost our capacity to think, to love, to understand, to see? Can you believe this? What does any of this have to do with infection? What does any of this have to do with illness or immunity? It has nothing to do with it. And you know, young people, they're impressionable, man. They're innocent, man. They don't know any better. They just want to enjoy life. They're growing, they're developing. Young kids shouldn't have to think about stuff like this. Children are supposed to be protected from systems like this. Why do you think they've been systematically deconstructing the family for several decades now? Because if state becomes parent, they control the future. They control the children. QR code, of course. I mean, children should not have to think about these things, man. And now they're even getting kids to go behind their parents' back and get this done. Absolute madness. Oh, we're not finished with these other articles. So let me just show you this one article real quick. So this one again, the NC using 50 million in CV funds for social emotional learning. State plans to spend millions on a controversial psychiatric program. This is extremely important because it adds to the not just immuno intervention, but also psychological or psycho-emotional intervention of the state. Not only do they want to play with your children's mRNA genetic interaction and activity, but they also want to play with your child's ability to emotionally socialize. And this has a lot to do with the preconceived future that they're aware of, whereby young children will have it will be difficult for them to socially engage with emotions properly, not just to the masking that we're experiencing now, but to the heavy virtual learning and virtual experiences that the future has waiting. And in fact, I believe that a lot of these masking things and outbreaks in schools, which is blowing up in the news right now, especially with children, not only has to do with pushing the envelope on the idea of inoculating children, but also getting kids out of live in-person education. Because virtual learning is the future. They call it life learning. It's coming. I'll tell you that a lot of this is all setting everybody up for a virtual experience. The digital normal, the spatial web. Right? So in-person education is not going to last much longer. Okay. That's why I say, if you can help it, get your kids out of these schools. They are going to destroy the future generations. Now, never have I seen such negligence, such haphazard behavior in regards to administering billions of doses of experimental, questionable, understudied chemicals to a population of people. Never have I experienced it in this fashion. There's something behind just the behavior of doing such a thing. It's psychotic, of course, psychopathic, yes, but it's satanic even.